Good evening, and welcome to Sky Tonight. The waning gibbous moon is currently 95% illuminated. Look for it in the eastern sky after sunset. Please enable captions in your preferred language to access local observing city information and times. Join us for a guided tour of the entire sky visible tonight. We start the evening with Venus halfway up the southern sky, followed by the Triangulum Galaxy and Hamal near the eastern horizon. As the night deepens, we look for Altair and the Dumbbell Nebula high in the southern sky, watch for Alpha Capricornids meteors, and find Deneb almost straight overhead before locating Messier 15 high in the southern sky and Mars near the eastern horizon. Toward morning, we catch southern Delta Aquariids meteors, spot Mercury near the eastern horizon, and view the Andromeda Galaxy almost straight overhead, with Saturn halfway up the southern sky and the double cluster high in the northern sky, all while watching for Perseids meteors. We close the tour with the moon crossings by satellites. Venus is the brightest object in the sky after the moon, appearing as a dazzling silver-white point halfway up the southern sky. It is visible to the naked eye and dominates the view despite the twilight brightening the sky at its best moment. 8:25 in the evening marks the peak for Los Angeles, while New York reaches its zenith at 8:45 in the evening and London follows at 9:35 in the evening. Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system, with a surface near 465 degrees Celsius, hotter than Mercury, even though Venus lies farther from the Sun, because its thick carbon dioxide atmosphere traps heat in a runaway greenhouse effect. The Triangulum Galaxy is a large, faint spiral of the local group. Under a truly dark sky, look near the eastern horizon for a broad, ghostly glow between Andromeda and the small triangle of Triangulum, using the line from Merak toward the triangle. It is best seen in binoculars. 10:13 in the evening is when the galaxy rises in Los Angeles, followed by New York at 9:48 in the evening, with London seeing it appear at 8:43 in the evening. Unlike many spiral galaxies, the Triangulum Galaxy has no central bar, and its loosely wound arms unwind straight from the nucleus. In catalogs, it is listed as M33. Hamal is one of the 50 brightest stars in the night sky, located in Aries. Follow the chain from Merak through Sheraton to find the brightest point of the constellation near the eastern horizon as it rises. It is visible to the naked eye. The earliest view of this star belongs to Los Angeles at 11:12 in the evening, while London waits until 10:17 in the evening, leaving New York in between at 10:56 in the evening. Hamal is an orange giant of spectral type K2, with a mass about twice that of the Sun, lying at a distance of about 66 light-years from Earth. Altair is a nearby white star spinning so fast it is flattened at the poles. Look high in the southern sky for the bright star flanked by two fainter ones, forming the low corner of the summer triangle. It is visible to the naked eye. Around 12:10 after midnight, the star is best placed in Los Angeles, New York, and London together. In 2007, Altair became the first main sequence star, besides our Sun, to have its surface directly imaged by astronomers using advanced interferometric techniques. The observations revealed an egg-shaped, distorted star caused by its extreme rotation every 8 hours, a rotation so rapid that it spins at 90% the speed needed to tear itself apart. The Dumbbell Nebula is a green-tinged puff of gas riding the summer Milky Way. Sweep binoculars or a telescope just north of the little arrow of Sagitta in the Milky Way below Cygnus to find it high in the southern sky. Around 12:20 after midnight, the nebula reaches its highest point in Los Angeles, New York, and London, while that single moment defines the view for all three. The glowing gas of the Dumbbell Nebula stretches about 2.5 light-years from one end to the other. The Alpha Capricornids meteors are active tonight at their peak, with an estimated 5 meteors per hour. Look halfway up the southern sky and let your eyes wander a bit off the radiant in Capricornus for the longest trails. It is visible to the naked eye. Around 12:45 after midnight, the radiant is highest for Los Angeles, New York, and London as a group. Deneb is a faraway blue-white supergiant marking the top of the Northern Cross and one corner of the Summer Triangle. Look almost straight overhead to spot this bright star in Cygnus. It is visible to the naked eye. Around 1 in the morning, this star is best placed in Los Angeles, New York, and London, where it remains above the horizon all night. In Chinese mythology, Deneb is sometimes linked to the legend of the heavenly princess, the weaver girl Xinu. In some versions of the story, it is the stars of Cygnus, together with Vega and Altair, that form the symbolic bridge over the Milky Way. Messier 15 is a globular cluster located in Pegasus. To find it, extend the line from Theta Pegasi through a nith at the nose of Pegasus and carry on a little further. It appears high in the southern sky. This object is not visible tonight, as it does not rise from the eastern horizon during the current viewing period. Around 1:50 in the morning, the cluster culminates in Los Angeles, New York, and London simultaneously. Buried inside it is Ps 1, the first planetary nebula ever found inside a globular cluster, a star dying in public, surrounded by 100,000 ancient witnesses. Mars is an orange-red point, rising near the eastern horizon. It is visible to the naked eye. The earliest rise of the planet occurs in Los Angeles at 2:33 in the morning, whereas London waits until 1:38 in the morning, with New York appearing in between at 2:17 in the morning. Olympus Mons on Mars is the largest volcano in the entire solar system, standing about 21 kilometers high and spanning roughly 600 kilometers in diameter. Now we turn our attention to the sky, where Deimos and Phobos trace their paths across the disk of Mars. Deimos makes its first crossing of the apparent disk of Mars, a passage lasting 85 minutes. In Los Angeles, the crossing occurs between 5:25 in the morning and 6:50 in the morning while Mars stands above the horizon. In New York, it happens between 8:25 in the morning and 9:50 in the morning as Mars is above the horizon. And in London, the event takes place between 1:25 in the afternoon and 2:50 in the afternoon with Mars above the horizon. Phobos begins its sequence with a first crossing of the apparent disk of Mars, a passage lasting 54 minutes. In Los Angeles, the crossing happens between 11:13 in the morning and 12:07 in the afternoon while Mars is above the horizon. In New York, it occurs between 2:13 in the afternoon and 3:07 in the afternoon as Mars stands above the horizon. In London, Mars is below the horizon. Phobos makes its next crossing of the apparent disk of Mars, a passage lasting 54 minutes. In London, the crossing occurs between 2:53 in the morning and 3:47 in the morning while Mars is above the horizon. In Los Angeles and New York, Mars is below the horizon. Phobos makes its next crossing of the apparent disk of Mars, a passage lasting 54 minutes. In Los Angeles, the crossing occurs between 2:32 in the morning and 3:26 in the morning while Mars stands above the horizon. In New York, it happens between 5:32 in the morning and 6:26 in the morning as Mars is above the horizon. And in London, the event takes place between 10:32 in the morning and 11:26 in the morning with Mars above the horizon. The Southern Delta Aquariids meteors are active tonight at their peak, with an estimated 25 meteors per hour. Look halfway up the southern sky and let your eyes wander a bit off the radiant in Aquarius for the longest trails. It is visible to the naked eye. Around 3 in the morning, the radiant peaks for Los Angeles, New York, and London together. Mercury is a steady point, rising near the eastern horizon. It is visible to the naked eye. In Los Angeles at 4:37 in the morning, the planet's rise sweeps eastward to New York by 4:24 in the morning and finally reaches London by 3:54 in the morning. Isaac Asimov set his 1942 story Runaround on Mercury, and it was there that his famous 3 laws of robotics were spelled out in print for the first time. The Andromeda Galaxy is the great spiral galaxy hiding in plain sight beyond Pegasus. Hop from the corner of the Great Square of Pegasus along two stars to find a faint oval smudge almost straight overhead. It is visible to the naked eye. Around 5 in the morning, the galaxy is highest in Los Angeles and New York, while London, which stays above the horizon all night, reaches its culmination at 4:40 in the morning. Andromeda is the nearest large galaxy to the Milky Way, located approximately 2.5 million light-years away, making it the most distant object visible to the naked eye from Earth. Saturn is a steady, unblinking golden point in Pisces, fainter than Jupiter, but with a calm yellow glow. Look halfway up the southern sky to spot this planet. It is visible to the naked eye. Around 5:15 in the morning, the planet is best placed in Los Angeles and New York, while London waits until 4:40 in the morning. In Arthur C. Clarke's 1968 novel, 2001, A Space Odyssey, the spaceship Discovery 1 is bound for Saturn and its moon Iapetus. Stanley Kubrick's film changed the destination to Jupiter only because the special effects team couldn't make the rings look convincing. The double cluster consists of two neighboring open clusters glowing between Perseus and Cassiopeia. Look high in the northern sky for a hazy patch between Perseus and the W of Cassiopeia, easily seen with binoculars. 5:30 in the morning is the peak for Los Angeles, where the cluster stays above the horizon all night. New York follows at 5:15 in the morning, also remaining up all night, and London reaches its highest point at 4:40 in the morning, while staying visible all night. Both clusters of the double cluster in Perseus are bright enough to be seen with the unaided eye, even though they lie roughly 7,000 light-years from Earth. The Perseids meteors are active now, building to its peak in 12 days, with an estimated 6 meteors per hour. Look high in the northern sky and let your eyes wander a bit off the radiant in Perseus for the longest trails. It is visible to the naked eye. The earliest best view of the radiant belongs to Los Angeles at 5:30 in the morning, where it remains above the horizon all night, while London waits until 4:40 in the morning, with New York in between at 5:15 in the morning, both also staying up all night. Tonight, 9 satellites are visible from land crossing in front of the moon's disk. The 6 shown here are the ones whose ground tracks run closest to towns and cities. The Hubble Space Telescope makes its first crossing of the night, with a ground path running north of Cebe at 8:32 in the evening northwest of Loa Janin at 12:44 after midnight. An observer standing on the narrow path sees the disk crossing last only about 1 second. The Hubble Space Telescope makes the second crossing of the night, with a ground path running southeast of Safaga at 9:06 in the evening over the open Indian Ocean at 1:18 in the morning. The Hubble Space Telescope makes the third crossing of the night, with a ground path running near Aguascalientes at 9:30 in the evening west of Santana at 12:41 after midnight. The Hubble Space Telescope makes the fourth crossing of the night, with a ground path running northeast of Tongiai at 9:30 in the evening over the open Pacific at 12:10 after midnight. The Hubble Space Telescope makes the fifth crossing of the night, with a ground path running over the Sahara at 9:40 in the evening over the open Indian Ocean at 12:52 after midnight. The Hubble Space Telescope makes the sixth crossing of the night, with a ground path running over the open Atlantic at 9:48 in the evening east of Mbandaka at 12 midnight. The solar eclipse is coming soon. Follow for details. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time under the stars, so please subscribe to stay updated. Clear skies.